Whoa. What is that? Where's that sound coming from? 1 second. Hold tight. I'm not going to come to you via this thing. Hello? Oh, nope. Still doing a weird thing. Yep, okay, so I'm still. Hmm. All right. Oh, wow, I'm still echoey and I don't understand why. All right, everybody, hang tight. I'm trying to figure out why this is happening. This has never happened before, and it's real weird. No, you see, this is my webcam mic. Oh, yeah! All right. Excellent, everybody. Let me just get the music going and then we can get this show started. Sorry about that. Um, I don't know what I think it might have been. You know what? I'll get the show started and then I'll explain it a little bit. All right. Ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, welcome to the Monday Discourse for today, Monday, August 17th, 2020. My name is Tristan Johnson. I'm your host today. I just want to get you know for everybody who is brand new to this channel, all times are going to be Eastern Standard Time. My streaming schedule is Mondays from 12 to 2. This is the Monday Discourse. It's a show I do right now. And Mia Mulder will be my co-host here in just a moment. Tuesday nights, I do a chill evening show called Step Back Tonight from 7 to 10. And then I do a reaction stream called The Reactor on Friday afternoons from 2 to 5. I go by he, him pronouns, and my work can be found at stepbackhistory.com. If you are on Amazon, if you're on Amazon Prime because you wanted to watch The Tick, I'm trying to remember all the Amazon Prime shows I know. If you want to watch The Tick, or I guess on this one it would be The Man in the High Castle, if you still followed that show, then you get one free Twitch subscription every month. And if you choose Step Back History, I'd recommend you use it, because if you don't use it, Jeff Bezos just gets to keep your money. But if you use it to support Step Back History, I'll be very appreciative. I will appreciate it if you support any independent creator, but if you help me out, you're helping feed cats, pay rent, you know, all that stuff that needs to happen. And I wanted to draw some attention, since it's a brand new little babby of mine, that I have a new channel that I want to get people's attention to. So, just one quick thing. I want to do something real quick. Okay. Excellent. All right. Just didn't want to miss any things. Okay. I have a new YouTube channel. It is a channel called Tristan Won't Shut Up. And there's a new video on it. And there's one video on it so far, but there will be more every
Hello.
week, and it's me talking about stuff that isn't necessarily tied down by history. So I'm going to put a link to the video in the chat for everybody to enjoy at your leisure. And then besides that, my next video that I'm working on should be out on Thursday. I'm going to mute my phone because all the Cold War people are talking right now. My next video is going to be on a simulation of the presidential election that is pretty interesting. I'm going to be filming it today. All right. So that's all the things. Oh, before we get started too, I wanted to show off this. I got this mug over the weekend from an independent Mexican artist that was selling, or there are a Canadian couple that sell like folk art from central Mexico, which is like one of my favorite regions of the world. And I'm filling it with water right now, and it's really loud and annoying, so I hope you guys all enjoy this water ASMR. Because it's an enamel mug, and I love enamel mugs. But, yeah. Okay. Without further ado, though, we need to get me on the phone before I scare everybody off. So, let me just call her up right now.
Hello. There we go.
Hey.
Hey. I think you're on my end anyway, using Discord. I think you're on your webcam mic still.
I don't know.
But
okay. Here's what happens.
Work. Don't worry about it.
Oh, no, I can make it work. I'll just tell you exactly why this is happening.
Okay.
And that is, my new apartment has one fun new bug that I don't know how to fix, which is that, there we go, that the power goes out, has gone out 3 times in the last month. And
it's not great.
Every time my computer does a hard reset, it opens the computer, and whenever you reset the computer from it being turned off, it goes, hey, did you want all of the devices on all of your programs changed? That's what you wanted, right? That's the thing that you craved? You wanted everything you set up to be broken again?
Of course. That's what you want.
Please.
You want everything to become destroyed.
Please tell everybody on the internet who you are.
I ask myself this every day. My name is Mia Mulder. I'm a YouTuber who does good videos with a background on history, usually. I like to think that I do other things, but like every single one of my videos, I start talking about like the 19th century Germany. So that's what it happens by accident, I promise.
Here's what I've always learned is there are 2 ways that you can approach things as a historian or as a philosopher. And most YouTube channels, like 99%, are philosophy, if you think about it. But you and me, and 3 arrows, and that's it. That's all of them.
That's it?
All the history.
That's all of them.
Not going to get me in trouble at all.
Those are the only ones that do good history.
Ooh, spicy. Shots fired.
I've been in talk with so many people who do like YouTube professionally, talking about like, oh, I would love to do basically philosophy too, but with history instead. And everyone's just been like, yes, because history YouTube is like 80% trash and it's just about World War II.
That's like what my Reaction Friday stream is turning into, is me reacting to other history YouTube videos and burning bridges and being like, oh boy, that was not a good video, was it?
Oh God. Apparently I'm loud. Can I reduce my own volume? Is that possible?
I can reduce your volume. There's a quieter Mia.
Only a 65% Mia.
There, I'll give you 70.
That's what you get.
That's a B+ Mia.
I was 100% sure that you were gonna go to 69%.
420%.
Oh God. I'm very proud that you I'm very proud that you didn't go that way. You were an adult. I am not yet an adult.
I am very rarely an adult. The first question, just like, okay, so first of all, you have to think about what discourse happened this week. Discourse was...
Once again, I am completely out of the loop.
There was a beautiful discourse, and then there was a bad discourse.
It's the beautiful discourse about Genghis Khan.
Okay, there's been 3 discourses. Since our last stream, we had a discourse about wet ass pussy, and Ben Shapiro.
Hearing that voice from you, my dear friend, my professional friend, has like dealt me psychic damage.
Wet ass P word.
Of course.
Got that pull-out game week. P word is female genitalia. Including the actual DJ who like mixed the song for Cardi B, actually made a remix of the song with his lyrics.
Yeah, with Ben Shapiro writing the lyrics.
There's some
it's
horse
so
in this house.
Good. There's some horse in this house. There's horse in this house.
But unfortunately, that blessed moment could only last so long because the next day we got Police Sergeant Harris chosen officially as VP Nom.
Yes, the top cop.
The toppest cop.
Her own words, by the way. We're not making fun of her. She said that.
Those are her own words. And in San Francisco, the gay capital of America, top cop has multiple meanings.
Your game is good today, Kristen. Damn.
Good is not the word I'd use.
You're on fire.
Okay, and then there is probably my favorite discourse that that happened this weekend, and that is the absolute fucking king of discourse, which was some Hindu extremists, like literally like Hindu nationalist folks, tried to basically defend the fact that like Narendra Modi is basically committing a genocide of Muslims in slow motion by saying that that Muslim hordes throughout Indian history are just as bad as Genghis Khan, and that like basically there's like a little bit of like, you guys are now starting to cancel like Christopher Columbus, so why not cancel Genghis Khan, when like I think that maybe like one country on the planet considers Genghis Khan like good guy. But what it turned into is one of the most hilarious cancelings of Genghis Khan memes.
Yeah,
it
took Twitter by storm, and then the entire thing got milkshake to duck because, as you say, the origin of the thing was very racist.
Yeah, but it just turned into something extremely funny. My favorite being Genghis Khan living rent-free in 16 of your chromosomes. Or 16% of people's chromosomes, that was it.
Yeah, I love that.
But like all these jokes about Genghis Khan getting ready to make an apology video on YouTube, and like they had like some famous apology video with like the head photoshopped out with like that painting of Genghis Khan. And then someone was like, how are you going to tear down this statue? And they showed that statue of Genghis Khan that's in Mongolia that's like maybe like 5 stories tall.
Yeah, that's like a building.
It's fucking beautiful internet. That was a beautiful moment of internet.
It really all came together. I'm very happy about that. We can't complain about that.
We history buffs don't get that many awesome moments of internet discourse, but canceling Genghis Khan was definitely up there.
Definitely.
Oh man, which was almost as good as wet ass P word. Wet ass P word everybody could enjoy, but Genghis Khan was just for us.
That's our meme. History people and Mongolians, I guess.
Just... Oh god.
But yeah, like wet ass P word. When that happened, like I annoyed everyone around me when that happened.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that I did, because I could not stop listening to the Ben Shapiro mix.
See, the thing is, Kelly's actually a pretty big fan of Cardi B and thinks she's really funny. Because she is. Like, the song is objectively funny.
Yes.
And Cardi B is objectively funny as a person.
Yes.
And so, just to add it to Ben Shapiro just being a conservative, which means having literally zero sense of humor.
And not recognizing like rap and hip hop as being music.
Yeah. And then
for some reason.
But then it also did cool stuff like reminded everybody about Abby Shapiro and Abby Shapiro's singing talent, which sounds like one of those little ghost decorations you get for Halloween that go woo.
Oh God.
Have you heard her sing?
I have not, but I've heard some of my own fans in the stream let me know that apparently her singing isn't quite right.
She has a vibrato that is something to behold. I'm going to send you a link, and we're going to listen to it.
Something to behold. Are we going to... Oh, my God.
Because she's trying to become, like... Imagine if Abby Shapiro was, like... Or if Ben Shapiro did, like, a... what's it called? Lifestyle channel.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, just give
all I
yourself
know
a
is that
taste.
Mara Wilson is like his cousin or something.
Oh yeah, it's super fun. All right, so this is her singing the national anthem of the United States of America. Just give it a little, just give it a little taste, and you can see what we're up with here, and I'll play it for the chat here too. All right, that was enough.
The vibrato, though.
Yeah, it's... Oh, boy. It hurts. It's pain. This is what happens when you don't actually like classical music, but you study it your whole life because your dad forced you to, and now you define everything through what you hate, and so you just cling to classical music that you have no appreciation for because you just want to make a statement about how white culture's better or something. That's my psychoanalytic stuff.
I just went into her channel because I wanted to see what this is. A month ago, she posted a video called America the Beautiful, within parentheses, sung by an opera singer. Hashtag Patriot Week, hashtag conservative influencer, hashtag Let's Be Classic. It has 3,000 dislikes. It has like 800 likes.
Doing well. We're doing well.
Doing well. Good. I think I've seen her channel before. I didn't realize that it was actually like Ben. Is this Ben Shapiro's sister? Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it literally looks like Ben Shapiro in a wig. So, like the resemblance is uncanny.
I don't see it.
You don't?
I don't.
Interesting.
She has a lot of singing videos, which I mean, live her truth. Good for her.
Yeah. All right, so we actually have questions from audience members that want to know things. They want to know what we think about things, which is weird.
We don't have... That's new. We don't have that.
It's true. The first one is going to make us very popular to start, which is what is to be done with the tankies? Should we convert them or just ostracize them?
Because I wish to keep my legacy of not identifying myself with any political label, I shall recuse myself from this question. I have a video coming up where I will dig into this a bit more.
As an anarchist, I know that when tankies take over, they tend to kill us. So my thing is, I would like to, if there is ever like the revolution TM, where like we're actually having these conversations, I would like to prevent them from actively work to stop them from taking positions of power. Otherwise, they're just going to do the what's it called, the killing of the Black Army of Nestor Makhno all over again. So I would say at this moment we're on the same side because we're opposing the bad things. But when it comes to like when they start going like, hey, why don't we kill all the sparrows, or why don't we like just like murder all of the anarchists because they don't listen to us, then maybe we can start like thinking something different to do. And also just tell them that genocides that they deny happened, and they get pretty mad, and that's kind of fun.
That's true.
I got approximately 700,000 people angry at me for pointing out that the Uyghur genocide is real and happening.
Well, China is not imperialist, so I mean, because of communism. So
yeah,
what do you say to that, huh?
There's a lot of people who it seems like their only issue with like police brutality is that the police aren't called the people's police. All right, what do you think about using Hadrian? Okay, this is some history that Tristan's not super good at Europe.
Hadrian what?
All right, what do you think of Hadrian's relationship with Antinous, or Alexander's relationship with Bagoas, as examples of LGBTQ history, even though they were quite problematic by modern standards?
I think watching LGBT history through an historical lens, we always have to be aware that most of history is problematic, and that's just the way it is. Like when people are talking about like straight relationships in the same time period, also very problematic, because usually, I mean, depending on the time period and depending on the area, obviously, but like oftentimes everything is just problematic, and it's kind of we can't judge history too much from a modern lens. We can judge a little bit, but we can't judge it too much. So we still have to like view it from the concept that it is. So like we can say that like it might be some LGBT representation here historically. It's also trash as shit, but also like it happened. Same with like Athenian like pedastry relationships there, because people often bring up like homosexuality in ancient Greece, and it's like yes, but also bad.
Yeah, let's just say don't make Alexander the Great your like queer bae. Like he's not. Don't Yas Queen Hadrian, I guess.
Yeah, let's not have Alexander the Great be a guest host on Drag Race.
Oh my goodness.
Although I would watch that.
There's two ways to go with it. There's time travel Alexander the Great, where he's just like completely wowed that like they're not able to like send hoplite troops into random regions in order to conquer, or the other one where it's just like a dusty skeleton sitting in the thing.
Both are good. I would watch both. I don't watch Drag Race, so I have no idea how they work. But I just imagine Alexander in the time travel version disliking every single routine or whatever. I don't know what they do. Because they don't have a full phalanx wall.
It's true. How are you going to be able to build a shield wall with that?
You can't. Where's the spears?
Mm-hmm. And then you have to point out to them that ever since the steppes region people came into, they brought cavalry archers, and that basically undermined the entire shield wall. But that's a bit it's a bit advanced for Alexander the Great, because he was just like link shield, march forward and win, never lose. And also like Alexander the Great like is basically just Hitler plus time. Like he conquered a bunch of shit and then he died. Trust me, like the Persian Empire, people who live in like Persia, my guess is would not be big fans of Alexander the Great.
Probably not
at the time.
I mean, we live in the dark reality that in 1,000 years people will remember Hitler in a less bad way than they do now. Like,
I mean, we're close to it already.
Yeah, like we are slowly like uneviling the Nazis, which is such a bad thing, because people keep doing it with history, and it's like, no,
yeah,
we shouldn't. But I still know, like in 1,000 years, people are gonna look at Hitler as some kind of weird historical icon, and not in the evil way.
Yeah, Matt Lipton, thank you for the $10 super chat, much appreciated.
Oh, nice.
Thoughts on the tendency for some corners of the left to react to concerned disabled leftists, telling them not to use the R word as everything that's wrong with the left. All right, we're not going to use the V word, because when we use the V word, people get mad at me now. So when certain YouTube streamers, because they've been banned from Twitch, say that everything that's wrong with the left is that they can't use ableist slurs. I mean, this is the what is the word you use? Dirty bag left?
Yeah, dirtbag left, I think, is the colloquial term. I don't really know. I don't keep up with it.
Yeah, like they which is weird because it was coined to refer to Chapo Trap House, and this is not a thing that they do.
Yeah.
That like not being able to say racial slurs and ableist slurs, like a certain YouTube streamer, is somehow everything that's wrong with the left. I mean, like, what's it called? It's. I disagree with that notion. Including everybody is exactly what's right with the left. And just like using dehumanizing language is not exactly a way to build solidarity with our disabled comrades.
It's leaving out potential like people who will actively contribute to leftist causes.
Yeah, that does remind me that there was a Dungeons and Dragons discourse that was kind of interesting. So someone made a thing called the battle wheelchair, which was sort of like a combat wheelchair that you could use in D&D if your character needed a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And some people were less than happy about that being a thing that existed.
Yeah.
Because people suck. And
yeah, I don't understand this sort of outrage of like, because not using slurs is like the easiest shit in the world.
Yeah.
Like, it's so easy to not use slurs. Like, it's the easiest thing in the world. You lose nothing by avoiding it, by avoiding saying them at all. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. I don't see the sort of... I don't see how you can reach the conclusion that, like, no, despite having nothing to lose and everything to gain, we still have to fuck it up. I don't get it.
Well, I don't know. I will say there's some effort in this. You have to do some effort. You have to do some work because we've been programmed to think that a lot of words are acceptable when they're really not, and that shit sort of changes over time as language has changed over time for literally all of history. So I don't know what the big huff. I don't know what the big huff is.
No, me neither. I don't keep up with that segment of content creator.
No, I'm not really an Amy Therese leftist, so I don't really particularly care about that.
Wasn't Amy Therese banned from Twitter?
Several times, yes. She's one of those Twitter users who just can't stop coming back and getting banned again.
Like a whack-a-mole.
Yeah. But like there's what the argument is this. I don't want to play devil's advocate because I think this is a terrible position, so I'm just highlighting what they say, not agreeing with it, is that language policing and making people do the work of changing the words that they say is going to make a sort of less enlightened but still screwed over by capitalism class of people feel like they're alienated from the leftist cause, and that in order to have the leftist cause you have to have like all of this education and be all proper and speak right, which is, I mean, that's like again going into like, okay, so you want to be inclusive of one particular segment of people, but by doing so exclude others, which is like not great. Like, the argument can be done in reverse.
Sorry, I got a bit distracted because I banned a troll.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for, well, I mean, defeating trolls is is in your blood. Fighting trolls on the battlefield.
It's true. Ice trolls specifically.
Mm-hmm.
God, I would want to have an ice troll right now. It's so warm. It's a heat wave. I want ice. Give me an ice troll.
Yeah, this is, not surprisingly, the hottest summer ever recorded.
And it's gonna be that way every single year, almost.
Yeah. Oh, that was the thing that came up this year. That I was talking with Kelly about. That was like, we're now starting to get a taste of what our climate change weather is going to be like. When we've had Iowa got hit with a land hurricane, which is a hurricane that doesn't require water.
What?
It's just like a storm that produced such powerful winds that they're basically hurricane level winds, and apparently wiped out half of the crops in Iowa, which is like the breadbasket of America.
So we're approaching Dust Bowl levels here.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw about yesterday, there was another Welcome to Climate Change World weather event, which was California is having its wildfire season, as you do, But then the
Mm-hmm.
fires got so bad that the updraft created a cyclone, and you had a fire tornado.
Oh, that's just lovely. What a lovely world we live in now.
Welcome to climate change, everybody.
We're turning the planet completely uninhabitable.
The best part about being alive right now in this part of human history is we get to see how it ends. Okay.
That's true. The end of history is coming,
Yup.
one way or another.
The Netherlands is starting to reopen its schools fully with no social distancing, masks, hygiene standards, effective test and trace program, and spiking cases. How does this utter failure of policy compare to Canada and Sweden?
Sweden never locked down, so we never did anything. So, I mean, and we somehow got it under control. We somehow have like a bit of herd immunity now, somehow. So, I mean, it's working. I mean, it didn't work earlier because a lot of people died because we didn't flatten the curve that you're supposed to do to reduce excess deaths. But maybe the Netherlands have some sort of herd immunity by now, so it's not impossible that it might work out, but I don't think it will, frankly.
Yeah, Canada's doing Canada's every province is handling it differently. Right now, the western provinces are having their spike, which we like the eastern provinces, the most populous provinces, had their big spike back in like April, or not April, like March, April, that, you know, when everybody else got the big spike. But now like British Columbia and Alberta are taking off while things are starting to cool down here in Ontario and Quebec. But like we're planning on sending kids back to school with like all of these like precautions, but not even like good precautions. Like
What kind of precautions are there?
okay, so like this is probably just like they're doing like for example, everybody who is over grade like I think like 2 or something like that has to wear a mask all day at school. I don't know why, but there's some reason that like little kids can't wear masks.
Uncomfy, I guess.
Everybody after I think like everybody in high school and above are going into these like 3 school rotations. So like they'll be rotating students in every week so that like you'll probably be going to school like only like 2 or 3 out of the 5 days of the week and doing online learning the rest of the week.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad works in like automation for like climate control automation for buildings, and he's worked in like biohazard labs, and so like the kind of like ventilate, and he's also worked in schools. And he was like, I was talking to him about this, and he was like, the ventilation system that you would need to manage like to like make a school safe so that like, you know, you don't have viruses going into the HVAC system and just infecting other people, would require like filters and stuff like that these schools do not have the resources nor infrastructure to handle. And this is all because a certain premier named Doug Ford, who is literally Rob Ford's brother, is just like, he needs the economy. He needs to make economy number go up. So after doing like kind of surprisingly well, like I'm not going to give Doug Ford too many compliments, but like Ontario handled COVID probably one of the better places to be. Like we're at the point now where we're only getting like maybe like 75 new cases a day. And some places like the region I live in goes like one day with 12 cases to the next day 0. And so like we're like, it's really slowing down, but like school starts in 2 weeks, and so it makes me think that like one big outbreak in a school and it's all going to shut down again.
Probably. That's how it's been in like a lot of American places too. So like they open up, they have like an outbreak, and then they have to close again.
Yeah. So my guess is that it's not going to last. Like, it's an attempt that's not going to last long. And unfortunately, a couple people are going to have to die, so we learn the lesson that you can't send people back to school just because you really want them to. Like, to parrot a line that his side of the political aisle would use, facts don't care about your feelings, and even if you really, really want the economy to restart, the virus doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. The virus will still keep virusing.
Yeah. All right. The next question I got here is, so last stream I said hating trans people for being SJWs is slightly better than hating them for just being trans. That was a super callous thing to say, and I want to say I'm sorry to any trans people who might have read my comment. We cool?
Yeah, we cool.
I'm trying to remember what that was a reference to. I forget now. The next question is Mia Mulder.
Of course. Mia Mulder.
It's moved into the stream. We're now like.
I know it's infecting everything I do.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing enough to stop it. I'm doing nothing to stop it.
You're encouraging.
I want to stop it, but I don't have the effort.
Okay, yeah. Last week, the Liberal Legal podcast, you decided to do an "Actually Harris Isn't as Bad as You Think" guys episode last week. Oh yeah, this is the Liberal Legal podcast response zone. So apparently the guys in that one did a Kamala Harris isn't as bad as you guys think episode. Their biggest offenses were, one, her voting record since 2013 specifically is supposedly on par with Warren's in terms of progressiveness. And two, when she was DA, she never pursued the death penalty, even though she could have. Either of those change your view of her?
No.
I mean, I know that, like, there's a little bit of, like, hope, but, like, keep in mind that she's, like, done stuff. The stuff that makes me really think that, like, oh, no, I don't have much faith in Harris is, like, she believed Joe Biden's accusers, like Tara Reade, until she didn't. And, like, has now said that she no longer believes in Medicare for all, now that she's the VP candidate. And also, like, the main issue I have with Kamala Harris isn't that much about her, like, position on the death penalty or, like, other parts of her voting record. It's literally her, like, extreme expansion of the carceral state. Like, she has a record of defending prison labor, and not to mention, not to the fact that she has a horrible record when it comes to the civil rights of trans prisoners. And, like, the fact that liberals just threw trans people onto the bus yet again for political expediency pissed me off. Because she kept a trans woman in a men's prison and denied her health care that she needed. Super cool, friends. It's cool that we can just forget that inconvenient people exist.
Yeah. When
it suits political agenda.
Yeah. I feel like Kamala Harris does that a lot with, like, she does things that are politically expedient, but whenever we look at things such as the, like, trans case or, as you say, the carceral state, those are things that she could do without, like, there was nothing around her that was kind of, like, pressuring her to do anything. And what we see of her with no pressure is shitty, and she is under pressure to become worse. Mm-hmm. So it's like the few good opinions that she may have had, I'm not super sure that she actually has those, or how strongly she will fight for them.
Yeah, because it shows that her position, any of her progressive positions, are subject to change. She seems like the kind of person from, like, because I did, like, a really long video on her career when she was running for president, mm-hmm. was that she came from a place of, like, genuine desire to do activism, but has since seemed to have, like, come to the conclusion that political expediency is worth worth compromising literally everything over. That's what I'm learning. And that's not somebody I trust in a leadership position, that they're, like, willing to throw anybody under the bus if it means that she can have more power. Which I hate so much.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly the kind of psychopaths who become people in high power.
And, like, it doesn't tell us anything about how she would be as VP either. Like, we have no idea. We have no idea if she's going to keep her shitty opinions, or if she's going to, like, follow Biden's shitty opinions. Mm-hmm. Or if she's going to, like, evolve her own shitty opinions. Like, there's nothing.
Yeah. And also like,
The thing that's really wounds too, I saw someone on Twitter being like, the worst thing about it too is that like there are definitely people in Biden's inner circle that fully believe that picking Kamala Harris is a concession to the progressive left.
God damn it.
Like 100%, there will be people who think so. Even like Donald Trump and people in the Republicans, they call her like extreme left, and she's like, she's not even, she's barely a progressive, barely.
Yeah. Better than we probably had, but still, like, it's still like in our day and age, in the year of our Ford 2020, just no. Yeah. Just like disappointments all around. I mean, the thing is, it was weird about the decision was that she, like, it was like one of the more obvious picks. Obviously, everybody who was following my stream thought that I was like all in saying Susan Rice, but this was also a pretty close, pretty obvious choice. It's not a good one because it builds, it gives them exactly 0 new votes.
Yeah. But that's the plan, isn't it? They want to play it as safe as possible because they're betting on Trump to sort of self-destruct. Basically, Biden's number one political appeal is that he is not Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. That's his number one thing. Even in polling, it shows that like, why would you want to pick him? And it's like, he's not Donald Trump. That's his biggest thing. So as long as he doesn't rock the boat too much, he assumes that he's just going to sail into victory. But I mean, that's not super great, especially since like a recent CNN poll showed that Biden has like dropped 10 points in the polls and Trump has raised almost 10 points in the polls.
Yeah,
just from a few weeks ago.
The end number on that poll was a little bit low.
Yeah,
but it's a little bit of an outlier given like a constant trend of being like 9% ahead nationally. But yeah, but still, it does show that it's a fragile place, and it's very easy that it's still very easy for Trump to win this election without winning the popular vote.
Oh yeah, like he'll just win like last time, because last time he didn't win the popular vote either.
Mm-hmm.
Has there ever been a president who's won 2 terms but never won the popular vote?
No, but that's because 3 of the 4 times that there's been an electoral college victory without a popular vote victory happened in the 20th century or 21st century. Like the 2000 and 2016 elections are 2 out of the 3 times it's happened in all of history. And the other time was like some like weird Grover Cleveland election. I think it was because there was a third party candidate involved.
That makes sense.
So yeah.
And like because of mail-in vote things, it's gonna take, like this is not a conspiracy thing. It's gonna take a while before we know who wins, right? Because it's gonna take a long time to count the votes.
Oh yeah.
During which time I am 100% sure that Donald Trump will start delegitimizing the election, because he did that in 2016. Until he figured out that he won, and then he shut the fuck up.
Yeah, my next video for Tristan Won't Shut Up is on a group called the Transition Integrity Project that literally did like a role-playing simulation of what might happen using like people who would be in that job if that happened. And yeah, it's quite dark how things could turn out. So that's fun. That's good. Cool and good. I'm glad this is happening. I love that.
We truly live in beautiful times.
I love that. Like I said in 2016 that the Democrats lost the most winnable election that they possibly could have had because they chose a terrible presidential candidate, and they literally did a hold my beer. And they're like, look, we found somebody who's... Now, granted, people don't actively hate Biden in the same way that people hated Hillary Clinton.
That's true.
But
it is a more unlosable election, considering we now have 4 years of Donald Trump failing everything.
Yeah.
And being very low in the polls.
And also losing an election in a period where, like, because it's very rare for a president to get reelected when there's like an economic collapse. like but like this is like one of the worst economic collapses in American history, if not like I think Q2 was the biggest economic recession in one quarter in American history.
Yeah, for sure. Because 2008 was just like a couple of like a dozen% or something, and this was like 32.
Well, yeah, well, like this is 32, and that's actually more than like Q4 of 1929, which means like this is worse than the Great Depression.
And yet, rich people are getting richer. Wild.
So this is so, but like, yeah, it's not good. And the fact that the Democrats are still finding a way to lose. Hey, Nozomiko-san, thank you for following. Okay. So back when she was running, Harris's plan to deal with housing was to give anybody who'd spend more than 30% of their incomes on rent. Thoughts on that policy? To give anyone who'd spend more than 30%. I don't know what that means.
One, these weird caveats being like, we will give you some progressive measures, but only if you file the paperwork. They never work, because the paperwork, the bureaucracy of the thing undermines the point of the thing existing, and makes it so inefficient that it doesn't work. That's how most of these things work. But also, wasn't it Harris who also said that like she wanted to like provide
it was like
free university for people who like invest in a company in a disadvantaged area and earn under $25,000.
Yeah, it was like it was something like that there was going to be student loan forgiveness for people who make less than X amount of money, who are Pell Grant recipients, which means that they got like a scholarship, a government scholarship, who start a business for at least 3 years in a disadvantaged community. And the other thing too is that this is called means testing, and it is shown to make programs extremely unstable because it's way easier to cut a program that only affects a small amount of people than a program that is universal and helps everyone. Hence why like America, the most like cutting hungry country on earth, still somehow has Social Security.
Yeah. Because it's deeply unpopular to take it away.
The next one, do you think Harris will run on Medicare for all in 2024 like she did in 2020?
Probably. I think so actually. I don't think it will ever be implemented, but I think she will run on it.
She'll run on something that she calls Medicare for all, and then when asked what it is, she'll be very vague. And then when you can
get free healthcare if you live further than 2 miles away from a hospital and earn under a certain amount of money, and also have invested in a poor community.
Who's ready for Harris Buttigieg 2024?
Oh no! Don't say that. It's so
high hopes. There you go.
Oh my god, I hate that.
When I was looking at the somebody already did a preliminary primary poll for 2024's primaries, and I was just like, oh, we're gonna go back to the days when I just stopped giving a shit about the Democratic primaries. Like, there's no one on here except AOC was there, but she was only at like 9%. While like at the top was
eligible,
she would be just barely legally eligible. She would be 35 by the time that she would become president, which is like just squeaking under the radar.
Yeah, she should run though.
Yeah,
she definitely should.
Yeah, but right now the favorite for the 2024 primaries is fucking Cuomo.
Why?
The person who turned New York into the fucking plague haven.
Yeah, and like is responsible for the deaths of thousands and thousands of prisoners directly, and indirectly responsible for tens of thousands of New Yorkers. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Cuomo. Why? For what reason?
I don't know. It's like dumb enough that like I'm like Anthony Fauci's gonna run or something stupid.
This is giving me psychic damage, Tristan.
I know this is a tough stream. I'm sorry. It's a hard world. I've been having I've obviously been having stress dreams because like sleeping is not super great for me because in general for ADHD people. But I woke up this morning and I looked at my phone, and I guess sometime while I was like half asleep in the middle of the night, I took like the "Do you have COVID?" test that the government has. So I probably woke up and coughed or something and was like, oh, here it is.
Yeah, here's the Rona.
Just, oh man. Here we are. Thank you, Cragnard Tynehad. I'm going to assume that's how it is. Thank you for following. Welcome. Oh man. Okay.
What a world.
Yeah. So when she was running, Kamala Harris's plan to deal with housing was to give anybody who'd spent more than 30% of their income on rent a tax refund.
Which is the worst way to deal with the problem ever.
Yeah, so if you can't afford rent, don't worry, my friend.
Yeah, in 2 years,
June, you might get part of that money back.
Maybe. If you're lucky.
Yeah.
If the paperwork goes through. That'll help you. You know, when you can't pay rent now. That'll help you in 8 months. It's such a disconnected idea of not knowing how normal people live.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because most people, I think, like, well, maybe not most, but like a significant amount of people in America this month can't make their next rent payment because the economy is in shambles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's this idea that probably the next, like, next month, like, there's as many as like 50 million Americans that could go homeless.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised. Like, the speed at which the American, like, social contract and also social infrastructure completely fell apart because of many things. It's astounding, really.
It was always vulnerable, right?
Yeah, because it's like it's so focused on like hyper efficiency and cutting things everywhere, which means that the second one thing in the entire chain goes wrong, the entire thing just unravels.
Yeah.
Because apparently, like, rent payments are taxed in a way that also fund municipalities, so now they don't get money, so now they have the people also, now those people can't make rent, so everything just has like this chain reaction. It's like austerity, except worse.
Mm-hmm. See, capitalism might be bad, but it's the best system that there is. No other country could have handled this better.
No other country. America's in the top, really. As proportion of infected, not as total number. Did you see that interview, by the way? It was a magical interview.
Which one?
It was an interview that Trump did with, I think, an Australian reporter. And the entire, like, American press outlet were just, like, amazed at the concept of follow-up questions. It was where Trump had a bunch of, like, big placards and handed the guy like a placard being like, "We're doing fine in terms of like infected. We're doing better than the world." And it's like, what? What are you talking about? We're less than the world? You didn't see that?
No, but it sounds pretty, like, yeah, because, like, it would be nice to see Donald Trump being interviewed by somebody who actually, like, was not in American media where you do actual journalism.
Yeah, who actually knows anything about journalism. I'll link you that after the stream.
All right.
It's a wonderful thing.
All right, now we're going to go into a much more fun and easy subject, which is going back to the topic of gender and transphobia.
Lovely.
We're doing all the good ones today, all the feel-good hits. All right. Is it inherently transphobic to believe gender is not a social construct? I saw a trans YouTuber claim the other day, but, like, for example, I used to believe that gender was like this objective thing you could have in your brain, and that if you're trans, if you didn't have the one that typically goes with your sex. I get that that's wrong, but I don't get how it could be viewed as transphobic. So that's kind of touching on transmedicalism, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's inherently transphobic. I feel like people throw around that label a bit much, especially with the inherent. Like, it is often transphobic, but I don't think it is inherently transphobic. I feel like there are ways to use this sort of argument in a way that is not transphobic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the argument itself is inherently.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like a little while ago, like when people were trying to like legitimize gay people in, like, the popular imagination, that there was this talk about the gay gene, and
yeah,
this is like a way, like there was like probably like when talking about trans existence, maybe like a decade ago, the idea was like, oh, like it's like we see like there's a biochemical thing that there's like a woman's brain in this body, and that's why we need the body to match the brain, and that's like what's causing all the things, and it's like that was like an attempt to say like, oh, it's like not their fault, or I don't know what the hell, like it's just it comes from it. It
was sort of to like justify the reality of trans people existing, and coming up with excuses. Well, excuses. Oh, I guess excuses technically, as to why we can't just fix them. And like, I mean, even in regards to if there is a gay gene, I don't think that is inherently homophobic, but like it oftentimes ends up that way. Same, and I would say the same thing about this. There's like, gender is complicated and no one knows what the fuck they're talking about, and it is folly to dictate too much either way. And that's why the most like the best idea I feel is just to like let people be what they want to be and just vibe, you know. But yeah, I don't think it's inherently transphobic, but I think it oftentimes is.
Yeah, like it originally came from a place of wanting to legitimize trans experience for the cisses, which I appreciate, because we're slow and we need things explained in simple terms.
Yeah, there's and yeah, that's sort of where it comes from. The problem is when you stop seeing it as an oversimplification and start seeing it as the absolute truth.
Finally, something for you. I'm just always going to remember that line.
I was so proud of it too.
And yeah, I mean, fucking sucks that like LGBTQ plus people just have to constantly justify their right to exist as who they are. To like what's it called? Change. Like, what's it called? Like, having to, like, redefine things just to make the cis people happy is just, like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, even, like, I remember when I began my transition, people talked about, like, a female soul in a male body. And that's, like, again, that's also one of those, like, the soul argument. That's also one of those, like, huge oversimplifications. But it's one of those oversimplifications that you can, like, tell someone who doesn't know anything about trans issues, and they can kind of get like the most basic. They can get in on the ground floor of what gender is.
Yeah, the idea of like woman's brain in a man's body is like I guess like a way to explain to the cis people what like the experience of gender dysphoria would feel like.
Yeah, I feel like it fulfills like a lot of different. It fulfills a lot of different like argumentative roles, where, like as you say, it's one of those things. It's a way where cis people can sort of imagine themselves in a similar situation. Yeah, because a lot of times. Yeah, one thing that I realized when I did like LGBT education was that a lot of people didn't really get why people would become trans, and it's like, well, that's not. But by talking like the soul or the brain argument or whatever, that's a sort of way to be like, well, it's not a choice, but it's just sort of the way that we experience this weird feeling of transness, not necessarily dysphoria in itself, but like the idea of transness.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a basic way to sort of connect the dots. It's very much like trying to fit a triangle in a square hole with a hammer. Just slowly teaching.
But yeah, I mean, I appreciate the effort because, I'll just say we cishet people are simple creatures, that need things explained to us in very simple terms. So thank you for all the education work, because you shouldn't have to do it, but yet here we are.
It comes with the territory.
Matt Lipton, thank you for the super chat. And yeah, you pointed out that we need some control in the YouTube chat because a bunch of Holocaust deniers are showing up and being pricks.
Oh no, God!
So Matt Lipton, you're here every stream. I have deputized you. You can go ham, please, go off.
Wait, am I a mod in the YouTube chat?
I don't know. Crush, kill, and destroy in my name.
I'm not a mod.
Okay, I'll take care of that after the stream.
Yeah, we'll do that. Oh God.
Yeah.
I look away for 1 minute.
All right. So there we go. Okay.
Don't deny the Holocaust.
Yeah, it happened. That's a thing that happened.
That's a fact.
There's like it's not even like a question. Like there's so much history work has gone to justify these like what's it called? There's been so much work done to literally just debunk Holocaust deniers that like there's no doubt at this point. There's an entire museum exhibit in the because like the biggest trial of a Holocaust denier that happened like in a courtroom happened because of happened in Canada, and so it's like there's actually like a really big famous case of a Holocaust denier being brought up on hate crime charges. And one of the things that happened is the court case turned into a like historical court case about whether the Holocaust happened, and it like was proven beyond a reasonable doubt that it did.
Yeah, it's very easy to prove.
Mm-hmm. All right, there's a Harry Turtledove book. Do you know Harry Turtledove?
I think so. I think we mentioned him several times on stream, but I keep forgetting who it is.
He's I hesitate to say good, but he's very prolific. Alternate history writer.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. There's a Harry Turtledove book about the world where Homo ergaster survived to the modern age in the Americas. In the book world, African American slavery ends 60 years earlier because the slave owners replaced them with Homo ergaster slaves who were easier to control. Is it offensive to suggest that the work slaves did was so simple you could have replaced them with literal cavemen? Oh man. Somebody chose to dedicate 300 pages to that concept, huh?
Yeah, that's a pretty wild concept. I feel like I'm not in a good position to answer this question.
Yeah.
But it feels generally like this is a spicy one.
Yeah,
because on one end, it's a spicy in every direction, because you can interpret it as both being very racist and also being very anti-racist, and it's the psychic damage, Tristan.
Yeah, this has been a bad stream for your mental health. So like I will say this, that it really to reduce. So 60 years earlier, so in America that would be around like 1805, which I think puts it around the time of the cotton gin. So I will say this: 1, slavery, super fucking bad. No matter how, brain, whatever the status of the people who are being enslaved. I feel like we should just, put that one together right the fuck away. Axiom 2, that slavery before the invention of the cotton engine, which is a machine that was able to separate cotton from its seed, slavery was disappearing. It was actually becoming unprofitable. But the two major crops that used enslaved labor were tobacco and rice. Rice very popular in the Carolinas, tobacco more common in Virginia. And that fairly often tobacco plantations in the Virginias did not usually employ children because the work was very physically demanding, but on top of that, tobacco grows in some weird ways that actually require a little bit of a deft hand to work with. But in the end, it is farm work. While rice plantations, they like had like families, like it was closer to almost like a feudalism, where you had like these humongous plantations and slaves lived in like these small family units that were then given like a what's it called, like a quota per day, and so it's almost like serfdom. But then the cotton engine was invented, and all of a sudden slavery became super tied to like all of it moved towards cotton production because it was just worth so much money. That also being said, slavery is not just an economic project, and to think that like them saying it's no longer economically viable to have slaves, therefore we're just going to stop having black slaves, because the racial hierarchy of white supremacy was part of defining Southern society, American society, European, like all of Western society, in a way that ideologically the idea of freeing slaves was too much for a lot of those people. Even if they had quote unquote better or easier to manage slaves, they would have still, I think they still would have done it, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of people who didn't have slaves still fought to defend the institution of slavery, because the institution of it is worth more than the to a lot of people in the Confederacy than it was to in terms of pure economic terms.
Yeah. So slavery was like, even when slavery wasn't economically viable, it was still important ideologically for maintaining the white supremacist class system, the racial caste system in the Americas, which I don't think would have gone away.
Yeah, because like I'm imagining how that would work, because the South would free all the slaves and just get caveman slaves. But I can't see a world where slave owners would release their slaves.
Yeah, because they were like expensive property, and on top of that, their like status in society was tied to owning lots of slaves.
Yeah. I'm just imagining like the entire, like, yeah, that would never happen. The southern politicians would never allow that even.
Yeah.
There's a reason why there was a war about it. Almost.
Like I do think that there is something there. It is overly reductionist, and this is sort of the part where I talk about like straight up Marxist analysis of history can sometimes not like lead to inaccurate statements. And it's stuff like when you say that slavery was purely an economic thing, when like as I mentioned, but shortly before the invention of the cotton engine, slavery was not very profitable anymore. And yet it stayed because there was an ideological aspect to it, and there's a cultural aspect to it, and a racial aspect to it. And that is stuff that Karl Marx did not handle super great. And we're still fighting about that on the internet today.
Can't believe.
Yeah. Brad Branson just wants to say Mia Mulder. On Novara Media the other day, Paul Mason said that we, the UK, should be accepting as many Hong Kong refugees as possible, partly because they'd be likely to vote Labour. How do you feel about white leftists going around saying that we want more people of color to move to the West because they'll probably vote the way we want?
I feel that's a weird argument to make.
Yeah,
I feel like that should be very far down on the list as why you would want refugees to come.
Yeah.
Especially since America, that stinks of political opportunism. Because if you cared about the well-being of people, maybe the UK should have accepted like more refugees from everywhere, and not just from Hong Kong. This is I don't like that. That's a shitty argument.
Yeah,
that's just political opportunism, being like, we're not gonna take in refugees except if they vote for us, and it's like, fuck off, fuck with that bullshit, fuck off.
There's a really good YouTuber I follow who would say that's a bad take, friend.
It's a bad take, friend.
Um,
It's a really bad take. Damn. Oh, that makes me angry.
we're like literally like you're just gonna like die at the end of this stream. It's like we're trying to give you a stroke.
It's gonna happen.
All right, I know you guys don't really do a whole lot of media criticisms, but would we be mad at Umbrella Academy for playing it as a joke that Klaus had sex with members of his cult? I mean, given the power dynamics, that's pretty close to rape. So, have you watched Umbrella Academy?
I have. I liked it.
So, you know how, like, Klaus becomes kind of like a cult figure in season 2?
Yeah.
And it kind of becomes implied that he was, like, one of those, like, early 60s free love cults.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that it might have been a play on the free love thing, but I didn't...
Yeah, I think it was more that, because I feel like Klaus's cult, to me, never had, like, bad vibes. It felt very much like, I mean, it was exploitative, but it feels like the people who were in his cult still like enjoyed themselves and had like they were safe, and that they weren't really abused.
Yeah, I mean, they could have explained it a little bit better, but
yeah, but I feel like that would have taken Klaus's arc maybe where it wasn't supposed to go. I think it's fine, but because I do think, as you say, that they play on the sort of free love thing.
They could have explained that better.
Deified cult leader, but they do that. Yeah, they could have fleshed it out a bit better, I guess. Yeah, that's true.
Because a lot of those free love like organizations and cults did go down a dark path, and later on with like with people like Charles Manson and stuff like that. So it would have been nice to distinguish like this is the early '60s. This is the time when just a bunch of boomers were in university and they just took their summers off to bang each other stupid in like vans all summer. So. Yeah. They could have done that.
I feel like... does he have sex with the cult members, though?
There's an implication. So, like, there's one scene... I don't want to, like... Spoiler alert for anybody who's here. There's a scene near the end of the second season where... what's-his-face? The brother, David? Or something, is Ben is like, possessing his body... And because he had like this crush on this one girl who was in the cult, and then they were like, "Oh, like we should have sex." And she'd be like, "Oh man, like I've never had sex before." And then she's like, "What are you talking about? We had sex like you and me and this other person had sex like last week." That's what that's where this is all coming from.
But then that's a past reference too, so it's really hard to judge that, right? Because we can't really see the situation itself.
Yeah.
So I think because it's a past thing, the person seems like enthusiastic about it. So I think it's fine. I mean, it's weird. It's a weird show. Klaus is a weird guy, but I think it's like not super problematic.
Mm-hmm. And they also do put a lot of work to try and imply that he's not exactly fostering the growth of a cult, but it just seems to sort of pop up around him.
Yeah.
But either way, like I said, it could have been explained a little bit better.
Yeah.
You look like that fat guy from Toy Story. I know, right? Everyone says that to me all the time. Just gonna ban that guy real quick. But yeah, that's
good.
Al's Toy Barn. I get it all the time. That's like the number. There's like a group of libertarians. I tweeted like this has got to be like almost 2 years ago now. I tweeted that there's not much of a difference between being racist or being a racist and being a libertarian, and a group of like libertarian teenagers got really mad at that and have basically been harassing me for 2 straight years now. They're very hashtag not mad.
Very normal thing to do for 2 years.
Yeah. Oh man.
I don't know. It speaks of a healthy mind to like obsess that much over a person on the internet that you don't know and allegedly don't really care about.
Yeah. Oh boy, I don't know why there's like a Matt Lipton, you've got your work cut out for you. There is like
I should be more.
Oh no, it's fine. It's just there's a lot of people. A lot of what's it called? The chat, what's it called? The YouTube chat is like very full of people, and they are all very they're trying to make the place unlivable. That's why there's 60 people in there. There's 98 people. This is a hopping stream. Okay. Let's see what we got next. let's focus on doing a fun show. Do you think that the U.S. will collapse at some point in the 2020s? I feel like comparing COVID to Chernobyl kind of implies that. I mean, if America doesn't make some huge changes to the way that they manage things, their slavish adherence to neoliberalism, I think, will cause them, just like how, what's it called? The Soviet Union collapsed because it was so inflexible in the face of changing circumstances that they fell apart. While, like, the U.S. is not willing to change in the face of a crisis, and this crisis is showing exactly that kind of thing. So, could happen if a suitably large political crisis happens, like, say, an election that is challenged in November because, you know, the president is not willing to hand over power peacefully, and they have a long history of the president just being able to ignore the law, and there's no legal precedent for what to do when the president just doesn't want to listen to laws. So, yeah, I could definitely see the U.S. collapsing in the 2020s if, you know, things aren't handled.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
Yeah, oof. Suppose some company invented real-life replicators. Fuck yeah.
Oh, hell yes.
You know how iTunes will charge you for downloads even though copying non-physical media has effectively no production cost? Do you think they'd try to make replicators work the same way?
Oh, for sure.
At first, for sure. But you know what? That shit would be pirated so fast. It really...
The second someone, like, cracked the code of how a replicator works.
Yeah.
That's done.
It really depends a lot on how expensive replicators are. If they're like millions of dollars, I could see corporations keeping a tight grip on that new means of production. But if it was cheap, or like had like a affordable price point that like groups of people could pull money together and buy one, oh yeah, you wouldn't be able to control that for very long. It's too much, too big. People would start downloading a car. Do you remember that ad? Did they have that ad in Sweden?
Yeah, they did. I remember that.
Remember?
You wouldn't download a car.
There was a time. There's two periods in history that I always think are freaking hilarious. The one where people thought it was actually like morally evil to download MP3s.
So what'd you say?
Like when times people thought there was like an actual moral problem with downloading MP3s.
Yeah.
Like you're a bad person for listening to music without paying money for album.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was do you remember the very brief time when YouTubers, I think this is before both of us became YouTubers, but the brief time when people were trying to make it a morally bad thing to have ad blockers?
I remember that. That was not a long time ago.
No. YouTube has a lot of ads now. Like, I use ad blockers religiously. And now anytime I'm on my phone or something, I'm like, this is so many ads. There's so many commercials. Like, I don't blame anybody for using ad blockers.
Yeah. I'm thankful enough to be able to afford YouTube Premium. So I don't have to ever look at ads ever again on YouTube. Yeah. And I honestly had to get it as a sort of like mental health barrier because I work on YouTube. Big part of my job is just watching other people do YouTube, and I can't do it if I have to watch half of my life watching an ad for like a vacation or something.
Yeah, and now there's like 2 ads, and both of them are unskippable, and I'm like, oh dear God.
Like a minute long. It's like fuck off.
Yeah, it's bad.
I'm just waiting until Netflix and like Amazon Prime starts having ads in the middle of their viewing.
Amazon Prime's already getting started. They already have ads before the video starts.
Is it a whole ass ad, or is it like an ad for another show on Premium?
It's always an ad for another Prime show.
Still appreciate it now.
Yeah, even though you're already paying for Amazon Prime. Albeit, Amazon Prime probably one of the cheaper things to buy.
Yeah.
All right. Remember that rich lady in the 40s who paid to be allowed to sing to crowds even though she sucked? Yes! I don't remember.
Yes!
But
I know her. I know the story.
that woman grew up to become Abigail Shapiro. Okay. When did it stop being the law that Native Canadians had to send their kids to reform school? I know some of them stayed open until like the 1990s, but I would guess or hope that wasn't still in law in the 1990s. I think that I don't remember. I can't remember the actual date when they stopped, like just stealing Native kids away from their families and throwing them into these schools to remove their native language and force them and like sexually and psychologically abuse them. Fucking horrible time. One of Canada's biggest shames that we definitely should be more and more aware of, the residential school system. But I don't know. Like, Canada was sterilizing Indigenous people as recently as currently happening right now. So I would be like, I bet the 90s was the time when they stopped like finding flimsy excuses to take kids away from their parents in order to force them into residential schools.
Yeah, I have nothing to say about it.
The only other good History Channel is Three Arrows. Oh boy.
It's true.
How many genocides are happening at the moment? Hard to say.
That's hard to quantify.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you define a genocide, first of all?
Yeah, I can think of... Yeah, because, like, there are two, like, active ones going on right now that are, like, active, like, on-the-ground genocides, which is the one that's going on in Xinjiang region, and the other one that is going on in Myanmar with the Rohingya.
Mm-hmm. You can also talk, like, there's potentially an argument for Yemen. Potentially. Some people are making that argument.
Yeah. You could also argue that the 70-year, what's it called? The 70-year genocide of the Palestinian people is one.
There are a surprising amount of people who will flat out argue that Palestinian people don't exist, which is like hardcore, like in terms of like genocide rhetoric. That's up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very surprised about it because I feel like even among like liberals, there's this like idea that like genocide bad, but sometimes when it comes to Palestinians, everyone's just like, actually.
Yeah, it's.
Hang on, no. You can't just make an actually here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of weird blind eyes when it comes to Palestine.
We use so much like I was talking about this on Twitter yesterday. There's so much settler colonial language that's used to talk about Palestinians. Like, it's the same kind of language people used against Native Americans in like the 1800s, where it's like they're going to disappear anyway, they're evil barbarians that attack us and we're just defending ourselves by expanding into their territory. Like, yeah, like all this, like they're not ready for self-determination, like all that stuff it's settler colonialism.
Yeah, in action currently.
Mm-hmm. The other day, a Republican senator argued that a public option would eventually result in the destruction of the insurance industry because the public option will be able to totally undercut their prices. In his mind, that would be a bad thing. Do you think there's any chance it actually playing out like that?
Yes, and it's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, it depends upon how good the public option is. I would think that like a Joe Biden-led like public option would probably be pretty shitty and probably expensive enough that it won't be a great alternative to a lot of healthcare plans. To make one that would actually work to do what needs to be done, it would need to be like good and shittier, or sorry, good and cheaper than what's available privately.
Which can be done if America wants to do it, and hopefully it can lead to the death of the health insurance industry.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a joke. I sincerely wish that the insurance industry in general should just go away.
Yeah. Now, there's some people who like are Medicare for All advocates that say that a public option is like a safe way to transition off of a private healthcare system, which like you could make arguments for that. I don't buy it, but it is a thing that you could do.
Yeah, like I feel like a public option would just delay the process even more, because like people will be like, well, we have a public option, and then it's going to take another 200 years before America joins the rest of the civilized world and has healthcare.
Mm-hmm. Move forward into the mid 20th century.
At least reaches the idea of like, yeah, it can finally end the 1920s, because I feel like in America the 1920s never ended.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that Leon Trotsky would have achieved his permanent revolution across the world?
No.
Yeah, no. I feel like he would have. What's it called? There would have been a Napoleonic coalition against him. The what's it called? The alternate history hub video that kind of talked about if Trotsky had gotten his way, that there probably would have been a like Western liberal capitalist alliance with fascism to fight the Soviets, is totally a thing that would happen.
Oh yeah, that was a thing that almost did happen.
Yeah, that's why fascism was able to fester as much as it did. Oh boy. Let me see. I actually ran out of questions. Or I didn't run out of questions, but there's a wall of non-questions. All right. So you know how chromosomes were discovered in 1905? Did people in the 19th century cope with having no way to tell someone's gender? How did people in the 19th century cope with having no way to tell someone's gender?
Absinthe.
It's true.
I don't know. I can't see the chromosomes. I have to drink absinthe.
They used to consult the oracle, actually. You'd have to every time. It was really annoying, and glad they got rid of this system. I'm glad DNA was eventually discovered, but they would actually have to take newborn babies to the oracle at Delphi and have the oracle determine what their baby was going to be.
That's how it works.
Pain in the ass.
That's a history fact.
Yeah. All right. So the other day I got bored and went into a right-wing subreddit and asked what they thought about BDS. The only interesting response I got was people asking, why just Israel? Why not Saudi Arabia, China, Iran, and every other shitty regime on earth? What's a good response to that? I felt like I couldn't just say refusing to trade with all those countries would be too hard.
No, you can just say do you see how self-aware you are? Because in an ideal world, we should not trade with any of those regimes.
Yeah.
Potentially. We shouldn't support authoritarians, including Israel. It's just that that's for some reason unpopular.
Yeah, and I would also mention that BDS is a movement that is being led by the indigenous people of Palestine, and it is what they are asking Westerners to do to help them in their struggle for liberation. Yes. So we are doing BDS at the behest of Palestinians, not that's the answer I would say to that. You heard the Toronto police just settled the G20 class action. I did not know that, but it makes sense. So the G20 happened in Toronto in 2010, I want to say. No, it was 2010. Where they basically unloaded overwhelming police brutality against people who are protesting the G20. So because Stephen Harper didn't want it to look like people didn't like him. But it's funny because compared to stuff that's happened since then, it feels tame. People were arrested for no reason and held for 2 days before they were released because they had nothing on them. And it's shit, now they just now the police just throw people into vans and they just disappear.
Yeah. What a wild world we live in.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. All right. Does restorative justice require victims to forgive the perpetrators?
No.
It's just about getting them to agree to what they think would be a way to make things right, to even it out, or to make sure that it doesn't happen again. That's that's what restorative justice is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. To be really fair, is it really fair to compare Alexander to Hitler? As far as I know, he didn't do ethnic cleansing. I mean, Sousa weddings were a thing. As far as I know, he didn't do any ethnic cleansing, but he did do some ethnic cleansing.
I mean, within the technological means of his period.
True.
Yeah.
He killed a lot of people. Like, there was a lot of, like, sacking of cities and stuff like that, which is, like...
Yeah, it was like, if a city didn't surrender good enough, just by the sight of him. Rip.
Mm-hmm. All right. In Iain Banks's science sci-fi novel, they have a way of altering someone's biology with retroviruses. That makes it possible for someone to transition so totally that it's impossible to tell with someone like with something like a DNA test. If that was possible IRL, do you think that transphobes would find a way to insist that trans women aren't real women, even if there was literally no physical differences that they could point to?
Oh, they would for 100%. They still do that now, preemptively. There's still like because a lot of like transphobic, like TERFs, basically, yeah, TERFs, will refuse to use the word cis woman and instead use the word natal women. So like the process of having been born, in a way, is the thing.
What's the TERF character in ContraPoints called again?
I have no idea.
Dost thou bleed?
Dost thou bleed? I mean, they would find all sorts of reasons why to exclude.
Yeah, like somebody pointed out, transphobe. It's not about like them not being satisfied with the definition of trans people. It's just they're looking for a way to exclude them and otherwise...
Abigail Cockbane.
Abigail Cockbane. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a very Natalie one.
YouTube chat for letting me know.
Sorry?
Thanks to Geshton in the YouTube chat for letting me know.
Thank you very much. All right. Let's see. I need to put my anarchist banner back up because I keep getting people who come in and say, "Is this a left or right wing person?" Okay. Thank you, Mana Pravum. Thank you for following. Welcome aboard. All right.
Yeah, we're extremely leftist in this chat.
Yeah, I'm so left. I'm not even right-handed. That's how left I am. I was right-handed, but I forced myself because it was praxis. It's not true. I have, what's it called? Left-handed people literally don't live as long because of various stupid things.
Yeah.
The first time Kelly noticed it, and she was just like, I can't remember which one of the sides of the faucet is the hot and cold water. And I said, the cold water is always on the right side because they don't want right-handed people to accidentally scald themselves. And it's like, and she was just like, oh.
Oh my God. Of course.
And just like how cars are designed backwards, and you know, it's a whole thing.
It's fucked up.
Talking about all the what's it called, the little ways in which the world's not super accessible for left-handed people. It's like the smallest discrimination ever, but it does bear out in a slightly lower life expectancy for left-handed people because everything is what's it called? Everything's a little bit backwards.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah, accidents and stuff like that.
Yep.
Are Indian reservations racist concentration camps or autonomous zones? Shouldn't they be independent nation states or just absorbed as equal members of the American nation state? They are legally. The answer to your question is it's fucking complicated, and
yes.
it's based on like hundreds of years of contracts, some of which we've just like blatantly violated anyway. To basically some extent, they are autonomous. In many ways, they are self-governing to an extent, and they have some control and say over things that happen within their territory that other people wouldn't, unless a company wants to make money off of them, in which case they get ignored. So it's theoretically they're supposed to be like sort of like partially autonomous zones that are based on whatever individual contract we made with them back when we settled what their reserved territory would be, but they're not like independent nation states, because if we were to do that, it would feel a little bit like South Africa, where we were taking the indigenous people out of the territory that's rightfully theirs and shoving them into these little Bantustans and then forcing them to have independence when they have no natural resources to think themselves off.
And that's the weird thing where it's like, because it's a wonderful way to say it, like forcing them to have independence, because that is what it would be like. As you say, you take all of the resources and then you kick them out of the country so you don't have any responsibility.
Yeah, and like a lot of indigenous people live in territory that is very harsh, very low on resources. Fairly often, like a lot of indigenous territory lives in areas where you have to boil water before you can drink it. So there's like a bunch of stuff. Of stuff. But to answer your question, from a person who doesn't live in America or in the Americas and doesn't it would make complete sense to not understand it because it doesn't make sense. Because it's based on different contracts and agreements and stuff like that have been done over centuries, and also like layers of legal precedent and all sorts of weird stuff. Yeah, it's a bit different. Yeah, it's to answer it would be like a whole stream in and of itself.
Yeah. Sweden has sort of a similar thing with the Sami people, but the way that we fixed it was just to ignore any sort of sovereignty and just give them nothing.
Lovely.
That's the way to do it. It's worse.
Pants Joke, thank you for following and also for subscribing. Thank you. We appreciate you. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Fourth world indigenous rights is a whole thing. Probably should make a video. I made a lot of videos on this stuff, but I should make a video on that at some point. All right. I feel like libs have this idea that if everyone thinks a thing should be the case, the government and the courts will represent that. Do you think the right having 5 out of the 4 judges will kill that belief over time?
No.
I think that there's that. That always comes back to that alt-right playbook video, where when you have nothing to substantially argue for, the thing you argue for is basically rules lawyering.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember which episode of the alt-right playbook that is, but
the card says moops, maybe.
Maybe.
Sounds like the card. Sounds like an episode. That episode. Anyway, if you want to have a good video, the card says moops. Good episode.
Yeah. Thanks, neo-Nazi, for giving me a racist super chat. You're banned now, but thanks for your money, I guess. Whatever.
I don't get. Why would you give money to? Do you think you're gonna get around by giving us money? Actually, give me a lot of money.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Clowns.
Pay trans people.
Thanks for the money, I guess.
I'm like 100%. Like at one point I was like a little bit like, all right, this is a bit simple, but then like within like 10 seconds I was like, no, fuck it. Like the whole pay trans people thing, just do it. Yeah. Give them money. That's like,
hey, you know what would really piss me off so much? If you just gave us even more money. Mm-hmm. Oh my god. Actually, I've come around on it. I'm actually #triggered. I'm very upset by this £5 donation. Yeah. You please don't send us more, because it's really upsetting to me.
I agree. This lib cannot handle any more triggering by you sending me more money. I'll be so mad that I'll have to go use it to buy soy milk to drown out my sorrows.
Yeah, I have to.
Have soy milk and rum or something.
I said as a joke I'm gonna have some tofu, but I actually am gonna have some tofu later. Nope. I can't even. Yeah.
Also, buy oat milk because it's more, what's it called, environmentally conscious than soy milk. Anyway.
And tastier, to me, honestly.
Yeah.
It's less sweeteners.
So you said your sister used to be kind of alt-right. When she was in that headspace, did you ever ask her if she wanted to have her life choices limited to housewife and mother? No, because I typically only saw her at like family gatherings and we didn't talk very much for obvious reasons. The reason that she was like that way, and that is, it's my sister's way, is that she kind of just absorbs herself into whoever she's dating at any time and doesn't really have a lot of her own positions on things. So she was just dating a shitty person at that time and just absorbed all of his positions. That was like 3 or 4 boyfriends ago though, so she's a now she's a gem rat, so I don't know. She's just whatever. We're not super close, as you can tell. I see her like twice a year tops. Okay. Do you think we'll be able to completely reverse climate change? Not anymore, no.
No, probably not. I mean, we can probably mitigate a lot of it if we take some drastic measures, but the thing is, we're not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a species, we're not really doing it. I feel like coronavirus is a very good like litmus test for how to deal with the disaster. In America, and coronavirus is like way more in your face, much more acute, so it's easier to like see the issue. And America and like Brazil and many other like big economies are still fucking it up so bad. So like they're not gonna do better with climate change.
Yeah, and we're already setting off like positive feedback loops. Like one article I read this morning was that the Greenland ice sheet has basically passed a point of no return, where even if we were to reverse climate change now, we've sort of reduced the volume of it so much that it can no longer maintain a steady balance of ice. And so we're like, that basically just set us in for a whole lot of ocean sea level rise, even if we stopped everything tomorrow.
Oh yeah, like we're gonna have like a bad time.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure, for a long time. Although hopefully, hopefully a new ice age can maybe come and fix things, but that'll take a couple of thousand years.
Yeah, I took the leftist 8 values test, like the one that's just for left-wing stuff, and it called me an eco-anarchist, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. I didn't realize, like, when I was reading until I was answering the question, I'm like, oh yeah, the environment is like my number one issue on so many things. Okay. Will the corn harvest failing get Americans to stop putting high fructose corn syrup in everything?
No,
just make it more expensive.
Yeah.
They're not gonna because their alternative is to move to sugar beets or cane sugar, and they don't have the. Do you like sugar beets?
I fucking love sugar beets. All Swedish sugar basically comes from sugar beets. So the one time when I was in America for like a day, everything that was sweet tasted to me super weird because it came from corn. It's not the same kind of sugar. I'm not used to it. I don't like it. Therefore, it's objectively bad.
Yeah, high fructose corn syrup it's objectively bad because it fucks with your body in a pretty bad way.
Oh, so bad too.
So that's a thing. I think it's going to make sugar more expensive, but America doesn't really have the climate to grow industrialized amounts of sugar beets to the point that they would need, and it really wouldn't need. It really doesn't have the climate to grow sugar cane, so it really doesn't have any other choice.
I guess.
Or maybe they could just stop adding sugars to things. They might stop adding sugars to things to what's it called, keep prices down, but I don't know. It's literally a drug that people are addicted to, so. We've got another from Meat Automaton Mia Mulder. Then we've got Mia Mulder. Oh, we got some dabs to cash in?
Not really, I'm just dabbing because of my name.
Okay. So yeah, Mia Mulder with the nickname Mia Mulder.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got Mia Mulder.
We can skip a lot of the Mia Mulders.
Ewa Mulder.
Oh, a twist.
Here's a fun twist. I'll send this to you, but it's Mia Mulder.
Christ.
Mia ? Mulder. I didn't know this happened like in a big wave, a big rich vein of stuff.
Sometimes it just happens.
Kamal Harris is a cop. Yup.
Yep.
Self-professed. All right. When did Harris say she no longer believes in Medicare for all? It was very shortly after the vice presidential nomination. It was an interview with her. I don't have the source on me right now. I read it like a week ago. Okay. This is how good we are. We are almost at 12:45 on the chat.
Hey, it's not that bad. We're just an hour behind.
It's all good. Oh, here's a good one. Kamala, not Mia Mulder Harris.
That's just a damning
Condemnation.
condemnation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an ad hominem.
It's a good one though.
Yeah. All right. Let's see.
Us saying this is triggering another wave of Mia Mulder.
Lovely. It's just like, what's it called? On a long enough stream, it just has like echo waves as we go through the veins of Mia Mulder, of Mulder posting.
I wonder if it's good for the algorithm. I wonder if the YouTube algorithm is picking up that my name is being said a lot and therefore I'm important. I don't think so though. I can hope.
Mulder posting is a good name for it.
Mulder posting.
All right. Question: is Leonard Cohen a Canadian hero? A little bit. He's definitely well-respected Canadian musician. R.I.P. Fucking Montreal legend. Any chance of getting Medicare for all in a Harris administration? Unlikely, but more likely than most other presidents that have existed. She seems like somebody who, if public pressure... She's not like Joe Biden in the sense that I don't think that she would veto Medicare for all bill.
Still fucked up that he said that.
Yeah. America. Very normal country.
Very normal country.
All right. The thing is, now everyone's talking to each other, and so I gotta like sift through all the chats to get all the questions.
It's a good problem to have, though.
It is true. All right. Oh yeah, now I'm getting to all of the angry people. Always has been. Oh, Mia, this has been an intense stream. Lots of stuff going on.
Lots of stuff. Lots of psychic damage. Lots of weird neo-Nazis.
Just a regular day on the internet.
Love being a content creator.
Mm-hmm.
On the internet.com.
The problem is there is no male or female brain. Correct.
Yes, of course.
All right, so imagine you could kidnap all the worst dictators in the world, put them in a prison, and punish them with non-stop loop songs. Who would you jail, and what song would you use? This is a good one.
That's a good one, yeah.
Okay.
Alive or dead?
I imagine that you could go with dead ones. All the best dictators are dead.
I would pick Mussolini and Mamma Mia.
That'd be a good one.
By ABBA.
I'm gonna go with the OG with Hitler, and I'm gonna play that East German song Moskau.
Yes! Oh my god, you're a genius. Oh my god. Of course. That's perfect. Holy
the idea of
gold.
Yeah, the idea of him having to hear that for all time makes me very happy. And I think I must have made some sort of horrible error because I deleted a whole bunch of the chat.
Oh no!
But that's fine. That's fine. I'll just use stuff that's in the most recent thing. How many Mulders could a Mia Mulder if a Mia could Mulder Mia?
Too many. Also, sorry, chat. Sometimes tech breaks. If you have any important questions that were like held up, ask them next week if you remember what they were.
Or if you got a question for me tomorrow night, I do things. I try to get to everybody. I just want to mention to everybody right now that like I based my my channel, like my live streams, on making sure that I got to everybody and that nobody was preferred over anyone else. But I am starting to get to this. It's a very good problem to have. We're getting to the point where it's hard to keep up with everything because everything moves so fast. Because there's so many of you awesome people out here, and so I try. I'm just know that we're trying, and sometimes I mess up, and we're gonna have to be a little bit. I have to discriminate a little bit somehow, but that's a problem for me to figure out. But thank you everybody for all of your support and for your eyeballs. Or what's the new one? Egg Ball Zone. I don't know if you saw that.
Egg Ball Zone?
So you know how on the YouTube channel Thought Slime, there's this segment at the end of the videos where attention is given to small creators called the eyeball zone.
Mm-hmm.
And then randomly in the most recent one, it got changed to egg ball zone.
Why?
I don't know. Understanding Matt's brain is difficult sometimes.
It's a fool's errand.
Yep. You know those fantasy stories often in anime where somebody magically turns into a woman? Are those offensive to trans people? Those like
No.
gender bending things?
Oh no, hell, that's just inspirational to like a ton of trans people before they come out.
Yeah, that's like hashtag goals, isn't it?
Yeah, like yeah, oh, for sure. Like if you look at like trans woman early transition memes, which is a very narrow slice of memery. But if you look at that kind of memery, there is a lot of anime.
The avatars
Like
of trans women makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
And
It's a lot of anime.
anime is trans praxis.
Yeah, there's a lot of egg cracking going on.
Was there? That was you know Jack Saint, right?
Yes.
So Jack Saint, you did a picture where he posted the when everybody was gender bending with FaceApp, and
Yeah.
everyone was just like, he posted it, and everyone was just like, yeah, whatever you say, egg. Like it was just egg memes everywhere. I did not know, like, I heard that, like, I learned an entire new branch of trans internet, which is that that egg memes is a reference to cracking the egg, and when you like realize like, oh.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of Magic Girl anime did that.
Oh, for sure, 100%. I feel a bit bad for like male creators who hang out in sort of the breadtube space sometimes, because there are a lot of trans women in it. And whenever there's like just a hint of like gender non-conformity, there will be a ton of people just being like, egg.
I haven't gotten any egg posting. I mean, I probably invited that now, but someone just said Ranma Half has cracked a lot of eggs. But I get a lot. I've gotten a fair share of people who really want me to become a furry for some reason.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. That's the other end of the spectrum.
There's trans women and furry.
there's a fork in the road. You can choose one.
There are two wolves inside of you. That's the two genders of BreadTube: trans woman and furry.
God, that reminds me of like Edge poster from 2008. There are forks. Fork in the road. One is become trans woman. The other is become neo-Nazi.
Oh boy.
That's also a very spicy meme. And all of you neo-Nazis out there, you could have had so much better.
Yeah. Instead of white supremacy and street violence, you could have had thigh highs and spinny.
Good meme check.
This is my internet observation.
Okay.
All right. How do you think the last USA presidential elections were affected by the fact that Hillary is a woman and Donald is a man?
More than people think.
Yeah, it was not there. And for a lot of middle America, it'll be a lot to study that phenomenon, but yeah, it wasn't not there, that's for sure. Yeah, and in an election that was that close, it could have been it was big enough.
Yeah. I think it's, big enough, but I think, yeah, I mean, she still did win the popular vote.
Mm-hmm.
Still not to me that's a thing, but yeah.
Do you think most non-hateful people understand transness in the woman's brain, man body way that he used to?
Maybe. I mean, I feel like that sort of an analogy worked a lot better before sort of the trans tipping point of 2013, 2014, before people knew anything about trans people at all. Now most people have like some notions about transness, and I don't feel like that analogy works as well. But I might be wrong. I'm not super sure.
Okay. opinions on Thomas Jefferson agrarianism. So this is an idea that, you know what, we have 1 minute left. I want to have more fun. Tristan shows no signs of egg. Okay. Yeah, I'm cis in the worst way possible. I'm so bad at being being good at exploring the gender spectrum.
Listen,
I'm just comfy where I am.
Yeah, if you're comfortable where you are, that's all good.
I'm at
the end goal of all gender exploration is to vibe.
It's to vibe, yeah, and I've been vibing. How do you explain transness to people who believe all dogs go to heaven? Wait, what? What a sentence. Do you know what this is going with?
I think it's a reaction to us talking about the oversimplifying ways to talk about transness to people, and I think all dogs go to heaven. I think it's a reference to people who maybe aren't super informed.
Okay.
On the issues.
What is your you meet somebody who is like, you said you were in a lot of situations where you met people who had never studied anything about transness, didn't know any trans people, and you did a lot of times where you had to be like, all right, I'm the first trans person you ever met. Here is what it means. What is what's the route you go down for those absolutely uninitiated folk?
That you kind of have to do that sort of the soul argument, sort of, which is a huge oversimplification. But I managed to kind of nag my bosses into allowing me to have a very short history lesson. So I could super basic talk about how in the 1800s there became this idea between the mind as a separate entity from the body, and now we all believe that this is a thing, but for trans people, society dictates a certain way for most people, but for trans people it doesn't gel as much in the internal structurings of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so gender is expressed both internally and externally in a different way.
Yeah.
And it sort of works. You kind of have to take questions and customize it to each individual person, but you kind of had to use the soul argument, unfortunately, because a lot of them were so very misinformed or uninformed.
Makes sense. Yeah, I'll fully admit, my learning process just began when my roommate came out to me and we got drunk.
Listen, that's the best way to learn, I feel like. The best way to learn anything is to do it as the old, the advisors to the old Persian Empire, where they would discuss an idea sober and then discuss it again while drunk.
Mm-hmm. I was
make
part
sure
of
it's a good idea.
I was part of Pride Alliance, but that was the first time where I was one of my closest friends came out, and I was just we're just gonna talk about what the experience is like and what the thought process is, and that was that I learned a lot of stuff. Okay. To finish off, someone did say, dress indeed, go spinny. And so that's, I think, what we can finish on. A bunch of dress go spinny memes. Okay. So it is 2:03. Would you like to tell everybody where they can devour your content with reckless abandon?
You can vor my content on youtube.com/c/meamulder. I'm also Nebula, which I keep forgetting to represent myself with. I'm on nebula.com/meamulder. I am on twitter.com/potato-politics, and I'm also on twitch.tv/meamulder. I'm on, yes. I think that was all correct.
And for everybody here, you can see me again tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. And everybody on Twitch, we're going to go visit Rocketansky, who we stan.
We do stan.
So go say hi, and for everyone else, have the good rest of your day, and be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Bye.
Bye.